The National Association of Realtors recently released a generational tools report, and we're going to jump into this week on Hard Facts. So if you're a real estate agent, stay tuned, because not only is there statistics that you want to keep in mind, but strategies you can utilize from those stats. And if you're like, I'm not a real estate agent, this information still pertains to your business, because we're talking about things outside of just real estate. Hi, I'm Samantha Cunningham-Zabalinski, and this week on Hard Facts, we're going to jump right into it. But here's one word of caution. The statistics that we're talking about today are from the real estate report, and actually I'm going to tell you the long-winded name of this report. It's the National Association of Realtors Home Buyers and Sellers Generational Tools Report for 2017 and 2016 Profile of a Home Buyer and Seller. And I took a look at this study and thought it was great information that we can apply if you are a real estate agent and think about things to impact your business successfully. But many of the statistics will find parallels to your existing business if you're outside of real estate. So let's jump right into it and find out what they're telling us about. So a couple things that stood out to me here were statistics about mobile shopping. For example, 58% of millennials and 46% of Gen X found their home on mobile devices. So how does this apply? We know mobile traffic is increasing across the board, but when we're thinking about how we're creating our merchandising, how we're placing content on a website, how we're getting that content to our individuals, it's extremely important that we're thinking mobile first. Well, in addition to that, when we take a look at what was important to different generations in the home buying process, when you're talking to a millennial, the thing that was most important was photos and information about the home. But when you were talking to older generations, things like agent information and agent contact info, virtual tours and photos were most important. Two slight differences. It's important to keep those generational differences in mind, because when we're looking at who is buying a home, well, that makes an impact on how we engage with them. 34% of millennials are currently buying a home, so that ages 36 and under. Now, when we look at who else is buying homes, the next largest demographic is individuals ages 37 to 51, representing 28% of home buyers. So thinking about targeting this 50+% of the population looking to buy homes, it's really important when we're thinking about how they're shopping, where they're shopping, and what is important to them. And in addition to that, thinking about what platforms they are on and you are on as a realtor. So this study revealed some information that I think you should pay attention to. And when we're looking at these statistics, it's important we understand why they're important to us and why thinking about individuals buying a home generationally makes a difference. Well, aside from those few things that are different in terms of importance to them, it's also important to understand where they are on social platforms, how they're engaging with your content, and what kind of devices they're using. And why? Well, 34% of individuals currently buying home are millennials, so that's ages 36 and under. And then the next largest demographic for 28% is individuals 37 to 51. So over 50% represent those two generations alone. So if we're thinking about how we're leveraging strategies and content, we want to make sure that we're on the platforms that we're going to be able to target them, hone specific content, and bring them through the entire process. And so one thing that millennials said was the most difficult part of the buying process, aside from finding a home, and that's an important statistic right there, across all generations, they cited the hardest part was finding the home in general. But one thing millennials did a little bit more is they found the home online, whereas older generations used an agent to do so. Now, millennials then said the next most difficult thing was the entire paperwork and understanding the process. So there's a key there, and exactly what we're going to get into for the meat and potatoes of this week's Hard Fact strategy. So meat and potatoes, guys. I'm going to talk to you about some different types of content that you should and have to create to be able to nurture your audience, talk more to your mobile and social shoppers, and build more influence to get you more business and more referrals. So you can actually do this and apply it in a number of different formats, but I'm going to recommend, I'll give you one guess, what platform? Video content. If you're going to say, I cannot be in front of video, do you have somebody in your office you can leverage? But when their phone starts ringing, don't ask why. You can also utilize a blog. In this recent study that showed that 17% of current agents have a blog or intentions to have one in the future. So get on that gravy train before too many people cloud that space. But when we're talking about what platforms agents are using, the study revealed that 80 to 71% are utilizing Facebook at 80%, 71% are utilizing LinkedIn. And some of those platforms where you have a bigger opportunity to make a splash are over here. So there's some big opportunities on that slide, specifically 3 platforms: YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest. all vastly underpopulated in your specific industry. So how can you leverage these? Well, very easily. YouTube is great for the video content that I'm hoping you'll create after watching today's video, but Pinterest is great if you decide I'm going to do a blog, maybe some video content as well, but I'm going to syndicate it more in written form. People are utilizing these two platforms as search engines. They're not just for your Friday afternoon hobby or killing some time between meetings. And Instagram is a great platform too. Don't get me wrong. I think it is also a great platform to advertise your homes on, but I'm going to say maybe utilize that one as your last at bat after you've really put together your syndication calendar. So let's talk about what kind of videos you should be creating, and we're going to go through, well, geez, I don't know how many, but we'll list them on the screen next to us so you now have your hit list of top videos you should be creating. So our goal in creating these is to repeat, reach, and gain more word of mouth following. It's also to educate and draw in new customers and new leads, as well as creating a network for engaging with your past customers. So we talked about this statistic a little bit earlier, that the hardest part of the process for millennials, for example, was the paperwork and about the entire process. So why not start there? That's a great piece of content that would be beneficial to anybody. So think about, as they're getting into wanting to buy a home or a property, what the process is. What do they need to do? What's the checklist items they need to have their ducks in a row for? Then what happens when they find the home of their dreams? What does that process entail? And then what's the paperwork and closing process like? What can they expect along the way? And what possible hurdles can they encounter? All of this is information that you can syndicate on those platforms like YouTube, Pinterest, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, and make part of your nurture process as you're working with a client. So we've got to attract clients and make leads into clients, right? So how do we do that? Well, you need a bio video. You also need a video about your agency and talk about why it is a beneficial process to work with you as an agency over maybe a select individual. Leverage that, or leverage your unique advantage if you don't work with an entire team. That gives you unique content that you can put out there that's specific to you. And I would keep in mind who your ideal client is, what their area is, demographic, geographic information, and include that in the video so you can make it as personal as possible. Also in there, promote your additional videos, the resources that you put out there, and some of the marketing plans that you will utilize to help sell their home, because that's an important part as well, is communicating, hey, I've got this plethora of information, strategies, best practices, and success stories that are going to get your property sold or help you find the property of your dreams. In addition to that, testimonials are great as well. So many agents take a picture of a happy couple in front of their brand new property, but aren't leveraging the benefit of video through this. Now, utilizing video testimonials are going to do a couple of different things. They're going to be social proof aside from the fact that the home was sold. They're going to allow them to tell the story and how you helped that family, that individual or couple, achieve their ultimate goal, either in selling or purchasing their home. In doing this, now you have additional content of somebody promoting your business instead of you always shouting your business from the rooftops. The next ones I think are kind of fun and honestly my personal favorite, and they need to be done consistently, frequently, and with new individuals. So here's a couple more that you should have a little bit of fun with, and they're getting out in the community. So if you are working in real estate, you have a territory where you're predominantly selling your homes. Make sure you're targeting and working with those businesses in those local areas. So interview every week a different individual, a different business, a different brick and mortar, a different restaurant, a different pizza place, a different golf club, a different school, a different kids club, tour a different park. All of these things that are important when somebody is looking at the community and the area in which they're buying a home, you should have content about, because it's not just about selling the home, it's the other things like the school system that are important to individuals buying. So I think it's fun because you get to build some relationships, hopefully have some great meals with a restaurant owner as you guys sit down and talk about the area, their restaurant, and the history. So that's one piece of content you can create. The other is thinking about when individuals are getting ready to sell their home, a big indicator of that is they're updating their property, right? So they're getting ready for sale. And I believe it's about 18 months that they start working on this process. So you can talk about whether or not somebody is interested in selling their home, ways to update it and get it up to up-to-date standards. This is a great video that gets you to start nurturing individuals as they may or may not be thinking about selling their home, but you're putting them top of mind as a top agent in their area. So great piece of content that applies to either end and helps that word of mouth. And last but not least, your goal is to be the expert in everything. And what better way to be an expert than to create a weekly series much like Hard Facts? But make it your own. Maybe you do it once a month, maybe you do it every few weeks, and you talk about things that are happening in the market currently or your community. A great way to give a pulse, set some expectations, as well as promote some of your recent statistics. Recent statistics such as how many homes you listed, how many sold, how many closed, as well as overall what's going on that may be impacting the market. A great way to communicate to your existing audience, customers who have purchased from you, and nurture individuals to come back into the market and sell their home in turn. So think about being the expert in all that you're putting out there, but all of this content is great to apply to any platform you may be utilizing, whether in written word or video. But I'll tell you, the video is the best way to create that one-on-one relationship without having to give all of that one-on-one time. So that's it for this week's episode of Hard Facts. If you have a question about how you can apply this to your real estate business or any other business, feel free to comment below, shoot me an email, call me even. The number's on the screen. I'd love to hear from you. Or if you have some questions about some professional video production, Kurt behind the screen would love to talk to you.